All right, we're going to go ahead and kick things off. We want to thank everyone for joining us for our virtual Family Caregiver Break to Educate event. For those of you who are unfamiliar with M4A, as you see there at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, as well as the Alabama Cares program, we will be going over both in more detail later in this presentation. In short, M4A is the Middle Alabama Area Agency on Aging. Our tagline is assisting all ages at all stages. And to kind of put it briefly, our program is a part of a network of agencies across the state that provide support services to elderly and disabled individuals. Alabama Cares is one of those programs that we offer within our building, and it happens to be the caregiver support program that is federally funded. So we do a lot of different outreach initiatives, one such being events like these. During normal situations, normal years, we would be doing these events within each of the 5 counties that we cover. However, with the pandemic, we're still being kind of cautious on a lot of the the events in the community, especially for those who might encourage individuals from different homes to be within the same building. So for this year, we decided to do this virtually and just to do one event. So again, we want to thank you guys for joining us. Again, this is our virtual Family Caregiver Break to Educate event, and we're so thankful for you joining us today. All right, so now we're going to take a look at our virtual Break to Educate itinerary for this morning. As you see there at the top of the screen, Miss Jan Neal of the Jan Neal Law Firm is going to be kicking things off with us. Jan comes from the Opelika region, but she brings a wealth of knowledge. She covers several different groups and organizations, especially those like ours across the state, as an expert in elder law. She's going to be covering legal issues for seniors and caregivers. She's going to be followed by Ms. Carly Frinsley, who represents the Alabama Lifespan Respite Network from the Huntsville region of Alabama. And she's going to be talking to us a little bit about what they do, as well as the power of laughter. And then finally, we're going to be followed up by a couple of our staff members, myself and Miss LaToya Shelton. She's going to be talking a little bit about the SHIP program, as well as Medicare open enrollment. For those who are unaware of what that time frame means, as well as what the SHIP program represents and what she might be able to do to help in your situation. And then finally, myself, potentially with Miss Crystal Whitehead, who works with me as well within the Alabama Cares program, we'll be talking about just a general overview of the Alabama Cares program, as well as M4A and our programs, with an overview of what we do here at our agency. So a little information about Miss Jan Neal with the Jan Neal Law Firm. She specializes, as you see there, in Alabama estate, elder, and special needs laws. Jan Neal has an established reputation of successfully representing senior, injured, and disabled clients throughout the state of Alabama for more than 30 years. She's demonstrated a lifetime commitment to meeting the needs of this population and their family and professional caregivers by concentrating on the following areas of practice, including elder law, health and disability law, end of life planning, and estate resolution. Jan Neal graduated with a BA in journalism from Auburn University. She graduated summa cum laude with a JD from Jones Law School, member of the Alabama State Bar. She's a charter member of Elder Law Section, member of the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys, member of Elder Law Answers, member of Academy of Special Needs Planners, author of the Alabama Medicare Map and Piecing It All Together, a handbook for caregivers and long-term care. Scan the Options, authored Alabama's first Medicaid income qualifying trust in 1994, which has made possible to obtain Medicaid eligibility in Alabama for long-term care regardless of income. Formerly served as one of the state's first long-term care ombudsmen in 1985. She's a statewide speaker to legal, medical, social work professionals, lay and professional caregivers, and seniors concerning issues affecting older persons. And to add to this, she's an excellent partner, a longtime partner of our agency, and we love having Miss Jan Neal join us today. We have a pre-recorded video that we're going to show, and I'm sure that you'll have questions. And again, this is a virtual event that we're bringing to you. If you have any questions, we are recording this. We will be putting this on our YouTube and our social media. So feel free to ask any questions both during the presentation via the chat or Q&A boxes, as well as if you're in our social media world and you're watching this at a later date, feel free to ask those questions in the comment section, and we will make sure that we will get you in contact with Ms. Jan or get that question answered for you as quickly as possible. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Jan Neal, and we're going to show this video, and hopefully you will enjoy and gain a lot of information from this video. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jan Neal, and we're going to talk about legal issues for caregivers today. I've provided you with contact information for me and want you to understand that you can get the slides. They're available for you on our website. It's janneallaw.com /ebooks. If you go to the website, the main homepage, you can look for the upper right-hand corner. It says publications. And when you click there, you can find a number of different publications. You can also find the material at SlideShare, at our account there, and our Facebook page. Caregivers are never prepared for the job. It seems like the job is just thrust upon them when you least expect it. And all of a sudden, there's all this information that a person needs to know. And they never thought about it, never looked into the subject. So today, what we're going to do is cover some of the critical legal issues that caregivers need to understand. And I will tell you that each one of these topics is pretty broad. We could spend a long time on any one topic. So there's only a little bit of information I can give you on each one of the topics, but I am providing you with places that you can go to get more information about each topic. Dementia is something that seems to raise its head whenever bills are not paid, utilities are cut off, or insurance lapses. Somebody in the family might not even know that there's a problem going on until they find out that their relative has been targeted in a scam and has just exhibited terrible judgment in being taken in a particular scam. So it's real important, I think, for anyone that's involved in the care of another person or anybody sharing finances to have everybody involved in knowing what's going on. For instance, I think a couple, it's real important for them to pay their bills together so that both know where the accounts are and can be a backup for each other. Very often I've seen where one of the spouses paid the bills and the other had no idea that anything was going wrong or that bills were not being paid until it was really pretty late in the game. And it's better to have everyone involved so that you don't have one person with access to all the information, all the bill paying, and their spouse maybe not even knowing what's going on. When you serve as an agent for another person, it's really important to stay on top of what's going on with that person. I've seen a number of situations where someone had a power of attorney, but the power of attorney had no idea what was going on. I think it's important to encourage people to participate in decision making, even in cognitive decline, to the extent that they can. But it also requires, for safety's sake, an agent to not look the other way, but to know what is going on and to serve in the oversight position for someone who may be having cognitive problems. While failure to make a will is something that causes relatives a problem, failure to make an advance directive is more of a problem for the person while they're still alive. If you don't make decisions about what your wishes are concerning who should handle your finances, medical care, and end-of-life decisions, then it can make it very uncomfortable. If something happens to you, you may end up having to have a guardianship appointed over you or a conservatorship. And most people don't want that. They would rather name someone of their choosing to handle their business. Often with families, everyone assumes that they'll be able to take care of business if something should happen to their relative. And sometimes they can. But sometimes they can't. And that's what's important to recognize. Caregivers are at risk of not being able to conduct business they need to manage without having the authority to do so. So in many respects, I do believe that naming someone to handle your business for you is a critical threshold issue. And any caregiver needs to have that in mind and get these documents in place before it's too late for someone to make a document. Issues of legal capacity to act for another person come into play, particularly in long-term care settings. Sometimes the person acting for the future long-term care resident will need to enter into a contract, or may need to sell property or set up an income trust for Medicaid, maybe give a lien to Medicaid to exclude property, access money and bank accounts to handle financial transactions on a daily basis. And when an individual can't direct his or her own medical care, then the medical agent needs to be able to make these kind of decisions, and for routine medical care, and also for terminal patients or permanently unconscious patients. The healthcare proxy can direct end-of-life decision-making that may need to be made at a given time. It's important to name an individual or co-agents to serve in any of these capacities. With all legal authority roles have in common is that the person or persons obtain authority to legally act for another as his or her agent or surrogate. And all states have agency laws to define who can act for another, but those laws may vary significantly from state to state. Also, the way that various agency authority arrangements can be made differ. And because of that, authority issues can sometimes become kind of complicated and confusing. Now we're going to look at the documents that are available in Alabama to prepare for disability and death. And the documents that are available and what you can sign depend on your capacity at a given time, whether a person still has the capacity to make a document. This would include the durable power of attorney for financial decision-making, healthcare directive, which you can also do through a durable power of attorney, or you can make a separate healthcare power of attorney or an advance directive for healthcare. You have end-of-life directives, which you can also make in a durable power of attorney or an advance directive for healthcare. You have last wills and testaments, trusts, and proper beneficiary designations that designate where your property is going to go when you pass. You have trusts, and you have affidavits for disposal of remains. These are the primary powers that someone is going to need to give to someone else to take care of their business. All these documents name someone to act for the person making the document if they can't make decisions for their own selves. Now, I've provided you a link to our website where you can get an ebook titled The Guide to Alabama Advance Directives. And we're going to cover a lot of that material today, and an ebook titled A Guide to Planning for Death. The most flexible and least expensive way to get authority to conduct financial business for another during his or her lifetime is to be named as the agent in a durable power of attorney created by the person who will need his or her business conducted by another. In a power of attorney, the person making the document is known as the principal, and they may make all of the following appointments in one power of attorney. An attorney, in fact, also known as an agent, to conduct business and handle financial affairs, a healthcare power of attorney to make routine healthcare decisions, and a healthcare surrogate to make end-of-life decisions. These powers can only be given while the principal is still competent to give that authority to another person. In this way, powers of attorney require incapacity planning, because once a person is suffering from significant incapacity, a power of attorney cannot be signed. And if one is, the power given can be challenged by people who might not have wanted that particular person named as an agent. The capacity needed to create a power of attorney is the same level of capacity needed to sign a contract, because the maker of the directive must decide if he or she wants the agent to have highly specific powers. Now, when you think about it, this is a pretty high level of capacity. I think that you, in other words, have to be able to handle your business now in order to give the authority to someone else to handle your business. Now, I wouldn't think that this completely precludes a person with some degree of incapacity from making a document, but the incapacity needs to be in the pretty early stages, and the person making the document does not need to be suffering from any significant incapacity. Whenever you're looking at whether a person can make a document or not, I mean, obviously they can if they can get someone to make one for them. But in the situation where we have people who have cognitive issues come to our office, we will sometimes request a medical opinion from a doctor who has worked with them and knows their current level of capacity. And I've given you an example of the letter that we will give to someone to present to their doctor. And it gives in there what we're looking for. We need to know whether the person has the current ability to receive and evaluate information and make and communicate decisions, demonstrating the ability to manage property or business affairs. And if a doctor can document that the person has this level of capacity, then we're happy to go forward with the power of attorney. But if we can't get that kind of information, we will decline to produce a power of attorney. We'll first talk about the durable power of attorney. Originally, the durable power of attorney legally required specific language in the document indicating that this power of attorney shall not be affected by disability, incompetency, or incapacity of the principal, or language that's close to that, meaning that the document was durable enough to survive the incapacity of the person who made the document. This special language was a requirement in Alabama law until the passage of the Alabama Uniform Power of Attorney Act, effective January 1st, 2012. That law eliminated that special language requirement because now all powers of attorney created on or after January 1st, 2012 are presumed to be durable powers of attorney. So when you're looking at whether or not to accept a power of attorney, you need to look at when the document was signed. If it was before January 1st, 2012, then it's important that you find that specific language in the power for it to be durable. Otherwise, it would not be in full force and effect. It's an important distinction because if you run into a document that was signed on or after January 1st, 2012, you don't have to have that language. That document is presumed to be durable. And I know that seems a little crazy to people because you only think about durable powers of attorney. But what you need to understand is that at common law, powers of attorney were not durable. A durable power of attorney is definitely a creature of statute, because at common law, a power of attorney would go out of existence if the person was not currently competent. So it was like an ongoing thing, day by day by day. Your power of attorney was given to someone. Along came the durable power of attorney, which said that even if you were to become incompetent, that power of attorney would still be good. The Alabama form power of attorney is a whole lot longer than anybody wants it really to be, and it is confusing in how the powers are laid out. There are general powers that a person gives by signing his or her signature. If he wants to include all of them or only initialing some of the powers, if he doesn't want to give all of the powers. And then there's a section that indicates that the agent can't, if the agent can't perform certain acts unless the person making the power initial those specific items. And then can get kind of tricky, and it can result in an agent being unable to do really important things like create a special needs trust or a Medicaid qualifying income trust. And for this reason, some attorneys spell out these specific powers to be part of the document without specific need to initial the prohibited powers. There is no HIPAA personal representative to access medical records named in the standard form. So that's another thing that needs to be added. We have our power of attorney form, which generally tracks the Alabama power of attorney structure, but we add a number of things that we run across as elder law attorneys that is not included in the standard form. The powers that are included in the power of attorney, the durable power of attorney, include general types of power that can be given to the agent that do not require an express grant in the document. In the statutory form, the powers are listed, and the principal has the right to grant all these powers or choose those he wants to exclude. And these powers include real property, tangible personal property, stocks and bonds, commodities and options, banks and other financial institutions, operation of entity or business, insurance and annuities, estates, trusts, and other beneficial interests, claims and litigation, personal and family maintenance, benefits from governmental programs or civil or military service, retirement plans. So you can see there's a lot that is covered by the durable power of attorney. Excluded powers, unless selected, include the following: creating, amending, revoking, or terminating an inter vivos trust. That's a living trust created during life rather than a testamentary trust created in a will. Create or change rights of survivorship. Create or change a beneficiary designation. Delegate authority granted under a power of attorney. That would be naming a successor financial agent upon his or her resignation or while temporarily unable to act. So you name your daughter to be your agent, but she's going to be out of the country. So do you want her to have the ability to name a successor in her own absence? To waive the principal's right to be a beneficiary of a joint and survivor annuity, including a survivor benefit under a retirement plan, or exercise fiduciary powers that the principal has authority to delegate. It's important to understand the difference in how real property is treated under the old and newer powers of attorney. When I'm referring to newer, I mean those that are under the new act effective January 1st, 2012. For powers signed before that day, an agent would not have the authority to convey the principal's real property unless the power of attorney clearly granted that authority. But for powers of attorney signed on or after January 1st, 2012, the agent does not need express authority to convey the principal's real property. In fact, the agent can even convey the property to the agent himself with just a general grant of authority to handle real property. The act states that a power of attorney must be signed by the principal or in the principal's conscious presence by another individual directed by the principal to sign the principal's name on the power of attorney. Now, while the power of attorney can be signed in this manner, I don't recommend it. It's better for the principal to make a mark, even if someone has to hold their hand and help them make that mark. When any legal document is signed, the witnesses and or the notary should not be interested parties. They shouldn't be caregivers, family members, heirs, or whatever. And powers that are created on or after January 1st, 2012 should be notarized to be considered valid. Now, in looking at powers of attorney, you want to look at some practical considerations. it's important to name an alternate in a power of attorney so that a person is designated to serve if the primary agent should die or become incapacitated to serve. Very often you'll see a husband name a wife and a wife name a husband, and it's better to have, if my spouse predeceases me or is unable to serve, then I name and pick an alternate. Because as soon as someone's spouse dies, that's not a good time to have to run out and make a new power of attorney because the person you selected is no longer alive. Another really important practical consideration is that an agent should always sign in the following manner: the principal's name by the agent's name as agent or attorney in fact, or some designation of that sort. As an example, this would be John is signing a nursing home admission contract for Mary. He would sign Mary Jones by John Jones as agent or POA, or Mary Jones by John Jones as attorney in fact, because under the power of attorney, the agent is technically the attorney in fact. This is an important point to keep in mind to prevent the agent from incurring personal liability by making it clear that he or she is signing in a representative capacity. And in fact, they're not even really signing. The person whose business they're conducting is the one signing. It's Mary Jones by John Jones as agent. A power of attorney does not need to be filed with the court unless there's going to be real estate that's sold. And that transaction is going to rely on the fact that someone is acting under authority of a power of attorney. In that case, the document should be filed to create a clean chain of title by showing that the agent had the authority to conduct the transaction. Now, there are other documents that I want you to be familiar with that are kind of, to some extent, especially the living will, is sort of easing its way out of the law, but you still run into people who have them. A living will does not name an agent. The Alabama living will was introduced into law in 1981, and it only allowed a patient to give the doctor instructions concerning artificial life-sustaining procedures that should be used if the patient should be terminal. Originally, there was no document that authorized a patient to give instructions should he or she be in a persistent vegetative state. Even though Alabama law advanced over the years to provide agent designation, the old living wills were grandfathered in, and many people still rely on only that document, and they don't seem to realize that they need something more than that. The reason that a living will is not a very strong document is nothing but basically a direction made to a doctor. And if your regular GP is holding your living will in his or her file, and you're seen by a specialist at the time of your death, that document may not even be accessible. Another document that you see is the Advance Directive for Healthcare. It came into the law in 1997, and it amended the living will that indicates that the treatment and the food and hydration preferences of the person if they should be terminal or permanently unconscious. It's also possible with this document to name an agent called a healthcare proxy. And it can show that they should follow only your wishes, or that they can be the final say if your wishes differ from what doctors are recommending, that they can address issues that aren't addressed on the form. So you can make your agent have as much authority as you want them to have. Now, if you do use an Advance Directive for Healthcare, it would be important to have a separate document that addresses financial decision-making. In other words, maybe a power of attorney that only addresses financial issues. Now, I really don't care much for the Advance Directive for Healthcare. Just this last week, I was dealing with someone who had made an Advance Directive for Healthcare and still wanted another one, even though she realized that when she made her original Advance Directive for Healthcare, she selected things that she really didn't want. because it's a rather convoluted document. And she indicated that she would want life-sustaining procedures, even if it kept her alive unnecessarily. And when I asked her, did you really mean that? She said, no, I didn't understand that. And so very often you do find people who have these documents, but they don't really understand what they've selected in them. I think it's a lot cleaner to name someone in your durable power of attorney as your healthcare proxy who understands what your wishes are. And based on whatever medical information they're getting at the time, they can make decisions about what medical care should be selected. Another document that you could probably go your whole life and never see, but I want you to be familiar with it in case you do run across it, is the Certification of Healthcare Decisions Surrogate, which I like to call the self-appointed agent. It's a procedure under Alabama law that permits a self-appointed surrogate to make end-of-life decisions when the patient failed to make an advance directive. This document is sometimes referred to as the CHCDS. Under the law, there are people named in a line of priority that can serve as the self-appointed surrogate. And that list is a court-appointed guardian, a spouse, adult child, a parent, sibling, other next of kin, or even the ethics committee for a facility. The person or committee can create the self-appointing document certifying that no advance directive exists of which he, she, or they are aware. Contact either was made with one or more of the persons who are higher in priority and they consented or expressed no objection, or no contact was made because the person or persons in higher priority could not be reached because their whereabouts are unknown, or they're in a remote location and cannot be contacted, or the person in higher authority has been adjudged incompetent. Now, even though you self-appoint as a surrogate, it's not likely that you can really make the end-of-life decisions without going before a court and having the court decide that procedures can be taken to end life. Agencies can also have their own systems for the appointment of an agent. And for instance, Social Security, representative payee, and VA fiduciary have their own rules. There is also an industry appointed agent, which is a pseudo authority role, and that's the sponsor in a long-term care setting. I do think it's important to understand that a sponsor does not really have legal authority. A sponsor is more of a long-term care industry term for the person to contact in an emergency. To further complicate matters, Medicaid uses the term sponsor and will accept applications from a person who fills out the application when the applicant can't make the application himself or herself. The Alabama Medicaid Agency also allows a person to become the representative for a person who can't represent himself before the agency, and that form is available at the Alabama Medicaid Agency website, and we'll get into that more later. Now, something that's important to understand is that a Social Security representative payee is something, and the VA fiduciary, these are selected by the agency. And it doesn't matter if you have selected somebody to be your power of attorney. Social Security does not have to honor that. It doesn't even matter if a court has appointed someone to be your conservator or guardian. Social Security Administration and VA are going to conduct their own investigations and decide who they believe is the best person to receive your check. And as a Social Security representative payee, that person only has authority over the money paid by Social Security and so on. The same is true for the VA fiduciary. Another important document to understand is the Do Not Resuscitate Order, DNR, or do not attempt resuscitation order, DNAR, and it can be signed by a doctor instructing that resuscitative measures not be provided to a person under a physician's care in the event that the person is found with cardiopulmonary cessation. DNARs can be issued either with the consent of the patient, if that patient is competent, or pursuant to the instructions in an advance directive, if the patient is not competent or is no longer able to understand, appreciate, and direct his or her medical treatment and has no hope of regaining that ability, or with the consent of a healthcare proxy designated under the Natural Death Act, and that's that end-of-life decision maker in the power of attorney, or at the instructions of an attorney in fact under a durable power of attorney that grants the agent the power to make end-of-life decisions in accordance with the Natural Death Act. So for many years, DNAR orders have been used in healthcare facilities, but those orders were valid only in the facility where they were ordered. If the patient left one facility, went to another, a new order had to be signed. In 2016, Alabama law addressed the DNAR orders and provided for a portable DNAR that will be valid across multiple healthcare settings. A form that meets the requirements of law to make it portable is provided at the State Board of Health Administrative Code 42519 Appendix 2. Now, while healthcare providers may continue to make facility-specific DNARs, to create a portable DNAR, the state prescribed form needs to be used. When a person fails to make an advance directive, an action needs to be taken. The family or the state doesn't really have any other option but to to have a legal representative appointed by the probate court. The probate court can appoint a person known as a guardian to have authority over the body of an incapacitated person, defined in the Uniform Guardianship and Adult Protective Proceedings Act as any person who is impaired by reason of mental illness, mental deficiency, physical illness or disability, physical or mental infirmities accompanying advanced age, chronic use of drugs, chronic intoxication, or other cause except minority, to the extent of lacking sufficient understanding or capacity to make or communicate responsible decisions. Now, the law provides a priority of those the court should first appoint as a guardian, and that line of priority includes a person named in a durable power of attorney, spouse or spouse's nominee, an adult child, parent or parent's nominee, a relative with whom the person has lived the prior 6 months, and the nominee of the caretaker of the person. Now, the court can also appoint a conservator to manage the estate or finances of a person in need of protection. And what the definition of a person in need of protection is someone who is unable to manage property and business affairs effectively for such reasons as mental illness, mental deficiency, physical illness or disability, physical or mental infirmities accompanying advanced age, chronic intoxication, confinement, detention by a foreign power, or disappearance, and whose property will be wasted or dissipated unless property management is provided, or for whom funds are needed for the health support, education, or maintenance of the person or of those entitled to the person's support, and that protection is necessary or desirable to obtain or provide the funds. The law provides a priority of list of people who should be first appointed as conservator, and they include the conservator appointed in another jurisdiction, person selected by the incapacitated person, a person designated by an incapacitated person's power of attorney, spouse, adult child, parent, relative with whom the ward has lived the last 6 months, nominee of person caring for the incapacitated person, and the general guardian or sheriff. So sometimes you find that there is no relative, and different counties will name someone to be the guardian for the entire county. More often, you're going to find that the job just falls to the sheriff of a given county. Besides attorney's fees and the filing fees, the court is required to appoint a different lawyer to serve as the guardian ad litem to represent the person who may need a guardian or conservator. Getting a court-appointed guardian and conservatorship can take some time, although there is a procedure that allows appointment on an emergency basis or for a limited duration or for limited transactions. An example of that might be a limited transaction. If your power of attorney doesn't give you the authority to set up a special needs trust, for your agent to set up a special needs trust, you can go to the probate court and ask for a limited transaction for the court to just give the authority for someone to set up a special needs trust for you. That's an example, but it's not taking over all of the duties of a full conservator. Now, the conservator has to be bonded, that's insured, based on the value of the estate and an account to the court at least every 3 years for all income and expenditures. So it costs some money to get a guardianship and a conservatorship put in place, and it does require a good deal of bookkeeping, keeping up with records, and the insurance that you have to get is ensuring that the estate will be reimbursed if say the conservator ran off and took all the money. Then this insurance, the person is bonded so that the insurance company will pay the money back to the court so that the person under the guardianship, under the conservatorship, will not be destitute. Now, let's move on to preparing for long-term care. The challenge that many caregivers have, especially those that are working full-time, is accessing information about the range and price of their individual communities for care. Prices and options can vary dramatically from county to county, and there's no single state database of available prices. As an example, some counties have no adult daycare services available at all, and the disparity between cost of assisted living can be dramatic. And this leaves the family with no other option than to move a care recipient out of county into some other part of the state. This is a terrible but true state of affairs that caregivers need to face before placement is needed. A tentative plan needs to be in the works here and now, not when a situation turns into a full-blown emergency. So it's important for any caregiver to figure out now what the cost of care is and what's available in your particular area. Genworth is an insurance company that does a survey across the country every year to determine the average cost of care within each state and across the United States. And I have provided the average monthly cost of care for 2020 in Alabama. And as you can see, it's pretty expensive. Just about all of the levels of care that someone can need are very expensive. I have provided a link to a guide to long-term care planning ebook and a PowerPoint presentation called Integrating Long-Term Care into Estate Planning. It's at our website in the ebooks section under publications.
Miss Jan Neal is with the Neal Law Firm in the Opelika region, but she covers our region here in the central part of the state. She's a longtime partner of ours, and we've recorded this, so we'll be putting it on our YouTube channel. But if anyone has any questions for Jan, feel free to drop those in our chat feature, as well as the Q&A. And like I mentioned earlier, if you have any questions at a later date, feel free to put them on our YouTube channel or on our Facebook feed, and we can make sure that we get that information back to Jan. Jan, did you want to touch base again kind of on what you do in partnership with M4A and other agencies across the state as it relates to especially Older Americans Act?
Sure. I want to encourage anyone who's a caregiver out there who needs help to feel free to get in touch with me either through Middle Alabama Area Agency on Aging, or feel free to call us directly. As part of the Older Americans Act, we provide representation for people who are 60 and over in targeted areas. Some of the areas that we deal with are what I'm talking about in this presentation. A lot of long-term care issues, Medicaid, Medicare, authority issues, housing, consumer issues. We either can represent you in these areas or get you into the care of someone, or make recommendations to refer you to someone who can. We can't handle criminal matters, and we can't handle fee generating cases. And what I mean by that are cases where a fee is provided as part of winning the case, like in a personal injury lawsuit. And you get a recovery and the attorney is due a certain percentage of that. We can't handle those kind of cases under Older Americans Act services, but we can get you into the hands of someone who can. I think the important thing to recognize is what Jeremy said. Planning is everything. I can't tell you how many times a week I deal with families that just put off making any kind of decisions. And the longer you put off making decisions, the more narrow your options are for what you can do. I hope that you will go online, particularly, and look up some of the information about Medicaid, because if you are a caregiver and it looks as though the person that you are taking care of may need long-term care within 5 years, you need to be doing things right now to get their finances in order so that you would be able to qualify for Medicaid, because the cost of long-term care is so high. Most people do eventually need to get on Medicaid. So think ahead, start planning now, get as much information as you possibly can, and call us if there's anything we can do to help you. And I'll turn it back over to you, Jeremy.
And I'll add too as well. I'm going to be cleaning up this video towards the end, and what I'll do, especially on this screen here, I'll add Miss Jan Neal's her contact information as well. I know she's went over it in the presentation, but I'll also add it here in case anyone needs to reach out. Jan pretty much covers, I believe it's kind of most of the top half of the state, isn't it, Jan?
Well, we provide Older Americans Act services in 5 counties in the northwest part of the state. And then, of course, the counties of Middle Alabama Area Agency on Aging around Birmingham, and then Lee and Russell counties, and then some of the counties south of Montgomery. So it's 4 of the regions.
And so similarly to M4A, of course, it sounds to me like, Jan, if Jan can't help you in the specific situation that you need, she can definitely send you in the right direction, similar to us. So Jan, we thank you for joining us. And again, there's so much information that Jan can help you guys with. As you see here, we're kind of moving into a Medicaid specific topic in her presentation that she pre-recorded. She's got a wealth of knowledge in many topics. So it's best to touch base with her agency, because she's a wealth of knowledge. Like I said, she can help with kind of steer you in the right direction on many topics regarding life estate, long-term care planning, that sort of thing. So,
okay, guys, my name is Carly Frensley. Like we said, I am the project coordinator with Alabama Respite. We are a nonprofit of UCP Huntsville, based in Huntsville, Alabama, but we are a statewide program. I will touch on what we do at the end of this, but today I want to talk about briefly the power of laughter, especially how beneficial the power of laughter can be for family caregivers. Throughout this, if you have any questions, just feel free to leave them in the chat box and I can address them when I'm done. But yeah, just hang tight for a minute as we go through the power of laughter. So I'm sure you've all heard before, laughter is a strong medicine, and that is true. Laughter is a strong medicine. It draws people together in ways that trigger healthy physical and emotional changes in the body. Laughter strengthens your immune system, boosts your mood, diminishes pain, and protects you from the damaging effects of stress. Nothing works faster or more dependably to bring your mind and body back into balance than a good laugh. So, hand in hand with laughter is a good medicine. Laughter in a multitude of ways is good for your overall health, especially as a family caregiver, someone who is living in a high stress environment, not sure what day-to-day activities are going to bring them, not sure what obstacles are going to be thrown at them that they have to resolve in just a split second. So laughter relaxes the whole body. A good hearty laugh relieves physical tension and stress, leaving your muscles relaxed for up to at least 45 minutes after. Laughter boosts the immune system. Laughter decreases stress hormones in your body and increases immune cells and infection-fighting antibodies, thus improving your resistance to disease. Laughter triggers the release of endorphins. The endorphins in your body are the natural feel-good chemical. Endorphins promote an overall sense of well-being and can temporarily relieve pain even. Laughter protects your heart. So laughter in that sense improves the function of blood vessels and increases blood flow, which can help protect you against a heart attack and other cardiovascular problems. Laughter burns calories, which is something I'm sure we all can appreciate. So it's no replacement for going to the gym or working out, obviously. But one study found that laughing for 10 to 15 minutes a day can burn approximately 40 calories, which isn't a whole lot, but and overall could be enough to lose 3 or 4 pounds over the course of a year. Laughter lightens anger's heavy load, especially with caregiving. You can become angry, frustrated, resentful for a multitude of reasons, and nothing diffuses anger and conflict faster than a shared laugh. Looking at the funny side can put problems into perspective and enable you to move on from confrontations without holding on to bitterness or resentment. So more than just respite from sadness and pain, laughter gives you the courage and strength to find new sources of meaning and hope. Even in the most difficult of times, a laugh or simply a smile can go a really long way toward making you feel better. And laughter really is contagious. Just hearing laughter primes your brain and readies you to smile and join in the fun. Laughter can bring people together and strengthen relationships. Humor and playful communication strengthen our relationships by triggering positive feelings and fostering emotional connection. When we laugh with one another, a positive bond is created. This bond acts as a strong buffer against stress, disagreements, and disappointment. Humor and laughter in relationships allow you to be more spontaneous. Humor gets you out of your head and away from your troubles, promotes you to let go of your defensiveness. Laughter helps you forget resentments, judgments, criticisms, and doubts. It releases your fear of holding back and just lets you live in the moment. It helps you express your true feelings. So deeply felt emotions are allowed to rise to the surface, especially in caregiving roles. Like I said, you are in a fast-paced environment that a lot of times you were not prepared for. A lot of times you are having to figure out and troubleshoot problems just by a day-to-day scenario, and you can get overwhelmed and very frustrated with yourself, especially if you feel like you're not doing a good job. Just in the past 10 years, my personal family has had to fill caregiving roles for 2 different family members who were terminally ill, and it was a very high stress situation. But looking back, my parents were actually both members, caregivers, and what got them through it is being able to be lighthearted and not take things too serious. If things didn't go specifically how they thought it should, or they felt like they were failing in the roles as caregivers, they were able to laugh it off. And even now that they are no longer in those caregiving roles, we can still look back and kind of move through our grief by just laughing over things that were out of our control, that ultimately we made it through and it wasn't a big deal in the long run. So there definitely is a link between laughter and mental health. Laughter stops distressing emotions, so you can't feel anxious, angry, or sad when you're laughing. Laughing helps you relax and recharge. It reduces, It reduces stress and increases energy, enabling you to stay focused and accomplish more in the long run. Laughter shifts perspective, so it allows you to see situations in a more realistic, less threatening light. A humorous perspective creates psychological distance, which can help you avoid feeling overwhelmed and diffuse conflict. And laughter draws you close to others, which can have a profound effect on all aspects of your mental health. Your mental and emotional health. So to bring more laughter into your individual life, begin by setting aside special times to seek out humor and laughter, as you might with exercising, and build from there. Eventually, you'll want to incorporate humor and laughter into the fabric of your life, finding it naturally in everything. Here are some ways to start. How about just smile? I'm especially bad with this. A lot of people that meet me in person for the first time, they think I'm not very approachable for some reason. I've been told that, and I have to catch myself to not have a natural frown on my face. And so sometimes I have to be really intentional with just smiling, which I am a very approachable person, but sometimes I can come off in a different light just by the look on my face. So smiling is just the beginning of laughter, and like laughter, it is contagious. When you look at someone or see something even mildly pleasing, practice just smiling. Instead of looking down at your phone or just not wanting to make eye contact, look up and smile at people you pass in the street. The person, serving you a morning coffee, or just even your mailman, someone you're encountering regularly, a coworker, and notice the effect of others. Definitely count your blessings. Literally make a list of things in your life that you're thankful for. The simple act of considering the positive aspects of your life will distance you from negative thoughts that block humor and laughter. When you're in a state of sadness, you have to further travel to reach humor and laughter. So be intentional, and when you hear laughter, move towards it. Sometimes humor and laughter are private, a shared joke among a small group, but usually not. More often, people are very happy to share something funny because it gives them an opportunity to laugh again and feed off the humor you find in it. When you hear laughter, seek it out and ask, hey, what's funny? Spend time with fun, playful people. I know that's easier said than done, especially with COVID and being in a caregiving role. It's not always that simple, but there are, people that are just generally happier, that bring a better energy. And there are specific people who laugh easily, both at themselves and at life's absurdities, and who routinely find the humor in everyday events. Their playful point of view and laughter are contagious. Even if you do not consider yourself a lighthearted, humorous person, you can still seek out people who like to laugh and make others laugh. And then bring humor into conversations. Ask people, what's the funniest thing that happened to you today, this week, in your life? I often try to do icebreakers like that. And I'll just ask people, hey, what is one just random cool fact about you? And oftentimes it leads people to think of something they normally wouldn't. And it's typically something funny that has happened to them. I often, just by asking people this, it triggered a memory in me. And one time in middle school, I let a little boy in my class who just asked me, hey, can I cut your hair with a hole puncher? And I told him yes. And then he literally cut a chunk of my hair out with a hole punch, and I cried hysterically. But that story, looking back now, I laughed so hard at it, obviously, and that was years and years ago. And so when I ask other people, sometimes just random things about them, it triggers a little memory like that. It's normally something funny. And it's just a good way to let people laugh, kind of have a good memory. So that's just a little thought to share with you guys. So what if you really can't find the funny? Believe it or not, it's possible to laugh without experiencing a funny event, and simulated laughter can be just as beneficial as the real thing. It can even make exercise more fun and productive. A Georgia State University study found that incorporating bouts of simulated laughter into an exercise program helped improve older adults' mental health as well as their aerobic endurance. Plus, hearing others laugh, even for no apparent reason, can often trigger a genuine laugh from you. So you can definitely use humor to overcome challenges and enhance your personal life. The ability to laugh, play, and have fun not only makes life more enjoyable, but also helps you solve problems, connect with others, and think more creatively. People who incorporate humor and play into their daily lives find that it renews them and all of their relationships. Life brings challenges that can either get the best of you or become playthings for your imagination. When you become the problem and take yourself too seriously, it can be hard to think outside the box and find new solutions. But when you play with the problem, you can often transform it into an opportunity for creative learning. So that was just a little lighthearted tidbit on the power of laughter. I know it's easier said than done, and especially in a caregiving role, and just in the time that we live in with still a pandemic, it seems like everywhere we turn, something tragic is happening to someone we know, or we're experiencing it ourselves, or we're just trying to keep our head above water, caring for a loved one, or just trying to live our day-to-day lives without being in fear, without just worrying about, what's going to happen next. Hopefully we can all focus on really the positives in our lives and just try not to take things way too serious, and just enjoy life as we know it, and make the best of every situation. So like I mentioned earlier, I'm with Alabama Respite. We are a nonprofit of UCP Huntsville. We are a statewide program that serves unpaid family caregivers, providing care for a loved one of any age with any diagnosis. We can serve you under our program if you are not being served by any other respite program in the state. We serve you by awarding you vouchers of a monetary amount, which gives you the choice of respite of your choice, so you can have a family member or friend give you a break, and we will reimburse you up to the amount of the voucher. We do community trainings where you can receive stipends for respite from those trainings. We have a caregiver wellness initiative that will pay for at least 3 mental health counseling sessions for a caregiver on our program. We have assistive technology that we can suggest to you to make your care recipient's life easier, therefore giving you respite as the caregiver. We have robotic pets. So if you care for someone with dementia or Alzheimer's, we can send you a robotic pet at no cost to you for your loved one. We have tablets. So if you would like to take advantage of our caregiver wellness initiative and receive mental health counseling from a provider, and you want to do it telehealth appointments, so you do it from home from a phone or tablet or computer, and you do not have anything internet accessible, I do have a tablet for free that I can send you to be able to do that, but you do have to have internet to receive that. We do not provide the internet. So we always have something going on. So stay up to date with everything that we're doing, all of our initiatives on our website, which I have listed here, or on our Facebook page. On our website, you can press the events tab, and everything that we're doing, along with other respite events across the state, will be posted there. And we're always here for anything you may need. So please reach out to us if you need anything. The phone number listed on this page is our phone number for our office, and we are staffed fully in office. So please call us for anything you may need. But that is all I have for you guys today.
Thank you, Carly. And I'll add to what Carly said too. One of the things, I mean, just kind of piggybacking off of what when she was talking about just in general laughter and having the things that are obviously going to cause laughter, and obviously, like in her family situation, having that family support, that what we call the care network, to be able to provide that is always great. But even if you're in a situation where you don't have, maybe family members that are willing to step up and support, we live in a digital world now, especially now with the pandemic, and there's numerous avenues from a virtual standpoint, things like this. We in our office, we specifically offer a support group monthly for caregivers. I know that there are several agencies across the state that do that. There's also several online. I know that the Alzheimer's Association, different groups will offer online support groups. So those are always great ways to still connect with people, still laugh, still interact with people, even if they don't live in your neighborhood. So that's always a good avenue as well. And I'll add, with our agency, specifically with our Alabama Cares program, we work closely with Alabama Lifespan Respite as a means to offer our respite services as well. So they have a lot of resources outside of they've got several different programs, but they also partner with agencies like ours. I know that there's also some emergency respite, different situations, just depends on kind of the funding and throughout the year, but they're always a great resource to work with and to reach out to. And I'll add to her social media, they are always hosting events on their social media. They're always sharing good content. So I definitely recommend that you check that out, because they do have a great avenue for caregivers to kind of check out during all hours of the day. So definitely check those guys out. And Carly, we thank you for coming on. I don't see any questions in the chat and Q&A. And again, we are recording this, so I'll be putting this on our YouTube and on our social media feed. So if you have any questions for Carly at a later date, feel free to reach out to her directly or touch base with us, and we can get you in contact with her. All right, so now we're going to move on to Miss LaToya Shelton. Is everyone seeing my screen? It says that I'm sharing, so I believe that to be the case.
Yeah, you're good. We've got Alabama ship now.
Okay. All right. And so now we're going to introduce Miss LaToya Shelton. LaToya joins us. She works with the M4A agency, along with who you just heard, Miss Crystal Whitehead, myself, and Miss Holly, who's also on the call. And LaToya is actually, like me, she's in a transitional phase right now, moving into a new position with our agency. But she has been working with the SHIP program. She's also our SMP coordinator. She's been working with M4A for a while, coordinating these programs. And she's going to talk to us briefly today about the SHIP program as well as open enrollment. It's no coincidence that people start receiving a bombarded version of Medicare related drug prescription plan commercials, especially on what I call regular TV or local TV. So she is going to kind of give us a little bit of insight on what open enrollment is, what that means for you or for your loved one, especially for caregivers, and how she can help, or our agency as a whole can help kind of help in those situations, especially during the open enrollment period. So LaToya, we're starting a little earlier. I know that we originally had you slated for 15 minutes, but if you see to where you need more time, feel free to take more time. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to drop those in the chat and Q&A, and we'll be sure to answer those towards the end. So LaToya, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and let you take over.
Okay. Anyway. So like Jeremy said, I'm LaToya, and I'll talk just a little bit about SHIP and our services for our Medicare beneficiaries. This is a very busy time of year with open enrollment coming up. And like Jeremy said, all the commercials on TV and So we tend to get a lot of calls, which is what we want. But I'll kind of just jump right into it. So what is SHIP? SHIP is the State Health Insurance Assistance Program. And through our program, we have certified counselors and volunteers who are available to help Medicare beneficiaries make choices regarding their health benefits. And we do this for free. Our counselors and volunteers are not affiliated with any insurance company and will not attempt to sell Medicare beneficiaries insurance. So we don't sell plans. We are unbiased. We don't pressure our beneficiaries to go with one plan over the other. We mainly just want to help our beneficiaries to understand how to choose their Medicare plan, understand what Medicare is all about, and to help them choose the plan that's going to be the lowest out-of-pocket cost for them. And these services are free, so there is no pressure either way it goes. So SHIP can help you understand your Medicare, determine which Part D plan best fits your needs, enroll in a plan of your choice. We can also help you enroll, file a Medicare claim or an appeal, answer questions about your Medicare health insurance overall. So SHIP provides education, counseling, and information concerning Medicare. We like to help break down exactly, your choices about going, your options when you go on to Medicare. We also can talk a little bit about your Medicare supplements. These are the plans that are offered with original Medicare. We can also talk to you about the Medicare savings programs. And I always like to say these are some of my favorites because they help our Medicare beneficiaries with their Medicare costs. And these programs are, they do have income and resource limits, but those are things that we can go over to see if you qualify for these programs. Also, we can talk about Medicaid, which is a part of the Medicare savings programs. Medicaid can come in, and if you qualify for Medicaid as well as Medicare, Medicaid will assist with paying for your Medicare premiums as well. Also, we can discuss we can discuss the prescription drug plans. We can help you with choosing a prescription drug plan to assist with, we can help you choose a prescription drug plan, which is going to be the lowest out of pocket. We can also do plan comparisons. We like to show you what, if you're already enrolled in Medicare, what your Medicare plan looks like next to other plans. We can also just show you, the different plans. And so how we mainly do the plan comparisons is we want to look at the lowest out of pocket. We look at your medications if you're on medications, and we like to look at which plans would cover those medications best and lowest out of pocket also. But we also mainly just help you choose a plan that's going to better fit your health needs as well as your budget. So we want to just assist in any way we can. We look at, like I said, we look at prescription drugs. We look at what's going on with you health-wise. How often are you going to your doctors? And so that kind of helps to narrow down the search. We can also assist with billings and claims, rights and protections, and also long-term care. When we talk to our Medicare beneficiaries about their Medicare, we want to know, like I said before, we want to show you your options, give you the ways to go as far as Medicare, original Medicare or Medicare Advantage plan. We want to offer you a plan comparison. We want to look at the top 3 plans to help narrow down your search. We know that going on to Medicare can be confusing sometimes. It can be overwhelming. And some people just don't understand, especially when they're new to Medicare. And so we like to help break that down and help that make sense as far as which way to go. And we want to help narrow down that search and just give you, a few plans of your choice to look at. So like I said before, we can talk about Medicare Advantage plans. We can look at which Part D plan is going to better fit your needs. We can talk about hospital coverage and how that works with Medicare, how to save money, which are through the Medicare savings programs, and also some of the supplement plans. And like I said, Part A, Part B, Part C, and Part D, SHIP can help you to break that down and to understand the different parts of Medicare and what all they cover. So when can I enroll? There are several enrollment periods during Medicare. So you have your initial enrollment period, and this is once you turn 65 or you initially go on to Medicare. You're eligible for Part A and Part B. This is a 7-month period. It begins 3 months before the month you turn 65, which includes the month you turn 65, and it ends 3 months after the month you turn 65. There is a special enrollment period. This is a time when you can change your benefits because something about your life has changed. For example, if you move out of a planned service area, then you're eligible to make changes to your Medicare. If you lose credible coverage, or if you qualify for some of that extra help, one of those Medicare savings programs, this is the time, this gives you a chance to make some changes to your Medicare. Now, these changes can be made at least once every quarter, every first 3 quarters of the year. If nothing changes, then you must wait until your annual open enrollment period. There's another time, there's a general enrollment period. If you did not sign up, and this is the time where if you did not sign up for Medicare when you were initially eligible, they do give you a chance to sign up, which is between January 1st and March 31st. So if you were eligible for Medicare in April and you didn't sign up, and you decide, the following year that you want to sign up, you do have between January 1st and March 31st to sign up. Now, your coverage won't begin until July 1st of that year. So if you sign up at the beginning of the year, your Medicare won't go into effect until July 1st, and you may be penalized for signing up late. But that is something you can contact SHIP about. We will let you know if you qualify for these enrollment periods, and if you'll have any late penalties as well. Now, the annual open enrollment period, this is a time where I always like to tell my beneficiaries, contact your local SHIP. Let us look at your Medicare if you're thinking about making changes. There's no pressure, like I said before, about going with one plan over the other. We just want to help you look at your Medicare plan. And if you're having any problems with it, if it's not covering any medications, we'll be happy to do a plan comparison and just take a look at it, or just give us a call and say, hey, I want to know what is this plan that I'm on going to look like next year when it starts again. And we'll be glad to let you know how it's going to cover your meds or what your doctor visit co-pays would look like, or hospital stays if anything has changed. So we like to just say, give us a call and let's just look at it so you'll be aware of any changes that are coming. Now, this time begins this enrollment period begins October 15th through December 7th. And so that time is coming up. Give your local SHIP a call. We will be happy to assist in any way that we can with your Medicare questions. And we also have a Medicare Advantage open enrollment period. Like I said before, there are a lot of enrollment periods. And if you have any questions about those, call SHIP and we'll be glad to let you know if you qualify for any of them. But there's a Medicare Advantage open enrollment period. And during this time, you can switch the Medicare Advantage plans. Now, this came into effect, I want to say about 2 or 3 years ago, this open enrollment period, because there was a time when you were in a Medicare Advantage plan where you couldn't make changes. So this is a great thing where they've now, where they're now allowing you to make changes. Now you can switch Medicare Advantage plans. You can leave your Advantage plan and go back to original Medicare and enroll in a Part D plan. And it's from January 1st through March 31st each year. Your coverage will begin the first day of the following month. So if you call me in January and say, LaToya, I want to switch my plan. I was on United Healthcare and I switched to Cigna, but now I want to go back, and those are just examples. You can do that. So if you enroll in January, it will go into effect February 1st. And this is just a slide that talks about the extra help programs that we talked about. The Medicaid is one of those programs, and it helps to pay costs that are not covered by Medicare. There are the Medicare savings programs, which helps people to pay their Part A and Part B premiums, deductibles, and co-insurance amounts. You also have the prescription drug assistance program, which helps people pay some of or all their Part D premium and cost sharing. This program is often referred to as the low-income subsidy, which is provided through the Social Security Administration. And here are some of the extra help income requirements. These requirements, you do have income limits for individuals, and you also have the limits for couples. So if you're married, you may still qualify for some of these programs. And as you can see, there are different programs that you could qualify for. There's the QMB, which is the Medicaid, which is where you will receive a Medicaid card if you qualify for the QMB program. As an individual, we see that income limit is $1,084. And as a couple, we see that income limit is $1,457. So give us a call, give SHIP a call if we can help. We'll be glad to break these programs down and let you know whether you qualify for any of the Medicare savings programs. These programs do help with paying that Part B premium for individuals who are on Medicare. They can also help give you a discount on your medications as well. So we always say, give SHIP a call, let us know if we can assist, and we'll be happy to let you know if you qualify for these programs. Now, this is the Medicare card, and I like to show this card because when I talk with my Medicare beneficiaries, I ask for the Medicare card, and sometimes they'll show me their Blue Cross card or their Cigna card or Viva, whichever plan they're on. But I want to see this red, white, and blue Medicare card. So I always like to let people know this is what it looks like. SHIP does this all year round. It's not just during those enrollment periods. We offer assistance year round to Medicare beneficiaries. So I always like to say, give us a call. Let us assist with any of your Medicare questions. And that wraps up what I have to say, Jeremy. I think that'll.
Thank you, LaToya. And I don't know, you may have touched on this, but just in case, and for my own clarification as well, with open enrollment and changing Medicare plans, if you're on full Medicaid, aren't you allowed to make those changes throughout the entire year?
Right. Yeah, I did. But yes, you can make those changes throughout the year.
Okay.
It's what I said, you may fall under a special enrollment period.
Mm-hmm.
And those are one of the categories that you fall under with special enrollment. If you do have Medicaid, but you can only do that. Now they've changed it to where you can't do it every month. It's only once every 3 quarters. So if you do it in January, you are not allowed to do it again until April.
So as you can tell, I think the key phrases that LaToya said was understanding and navigating, because the things change all the time, and plans can change every single year. The structure of the system can change every year. It just depends on kind of what's going on. So, LaToya stays on the up and up with this stuff, and she's got a great support staff that helps her, especially during open enrollment. She is also a wealth of knowledge, just like the last 2 presenters. So if you have any questions, and open enrollment is right around the corner. I know it seems kind of weird because it seems like we were just celebrating New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, but here we are going into the fall. So that's just a few weeks away that this will kick off. So LaToya, are you as a proactively going into open enrollment, are you already setting up appointments now?
I am. Well, actually, I have I have my open enrollment events already scheduled to where I'll be out in the different counties that we serve to help our beneficiaries. But yes, I am taking phone calls and just informing people of where I'll be out in their community.
Sounds good. And she just showed the contact number for her. For M4A, we all have the same number. Just ask for the staff member by name, but that's 205-670-5770, which is a good segue over into the Middle Alabama Area Agency on Aging. And before I forget, Carly, if you're still on the call, I was going to mention it earlier, but I'm so glad that your hair grew back, because that would have been a travesty. So that was a great story. I appreciate you sharing that with us. Yeah, those things will stick with you forever. I can still remember things from childhood too. So that's wild how that moldable time frame in our life, it just sticks with you forever. But the Middle Alabama Area Agency on Aging, or M4A, obviously it's a lot easier to say, is one of the 13 area agencies on aging that cover the state of Alabama. And our motto specifically, you see there on the screen, is assisting all ages at all stages. We'll go over a little more in depth in a couple of slides, kind of the programs that we have, the core services, we call them, within our agencies, within our Alabama Aging Network. But we have services that can provide assistance, through SHIP program, through Alabama Cares, through legal assistance. I mean, we have different things that apply to different situations regardless of the age. We have some long-term care programs that can help, children. There's a portion of our Alabama Cares program that helps with children. So it's we literally help all ages at all stages. And as we were talking about with Jan earlier, we're a similar organization in that if we don't know, or if we don't have the support services in house to help you, we're also by nature a resource center. So we can, help navigate you to maybe a resource that could help. And we'll kind of go through that process and how that works now. But like I said, the Alabama Aging Network is what we refer to as our network of 13 area agencies on aging. As you see there, we're kind of nestled right in the center in Alabaster, but we cover 5 counties, which are Blount, Shelton, St. Clair, Walker, and Shelby counties. Obviously, Shelby County being our largest county, but we basically cover the majority of the counties that surround Jefferson County, at least on the eastern side. And then, as you see there, West Alabama in the Tuscaloosa region will pick up to the west, and there's different agencies throughout the region there. All right, so the overall mission for the Aging Network for Alabama is to quite literally just provide services that help families, help individuals age in place within the community of their choice. Whether that's long-term care, whether that's in the community, we try to provide supportive services to help make that happen. And we know that from studies that at least 90% of adults age 65 and older, they prefer to stay at home. So that's really our driving force behind the mission that we have. Now, a little bit more about M4A specifically. Our mission is to empower individuals, people living with disabilities, and their caregivers to self-advocate, as well as live independently and safely within the communities of their choice. And again, our tagline is assisting all ages at all stages. Again, the counties that we serve are Blount, Chilton, St. Clair, Shelby, and Walker County. But if you happen to stumble upon our phone number, then we can definitely connect you to the agency that covers your area. We have a lot of, bordering counties that we get calls from all the time. We have a lot of counties or a lot of cities and municipalities that may have, especially Leeds is the first one that comes to mind. There may be 3 counties that the city of Leeds falls in. So we always try to look at your geographic area to connect you to the correct agency. But really an easy way to get started, if you can't remember our phone number, is 1-800-AGE-LINE. That's our statewide number. If you contact that number, it will be based on your, especially if you're calling from a cell phone, it is going to base your direction based on usually the area code. So like for me, I live in the Birmingham region. However, I moved from the southern part of the state. So I still have a 334 area code. So it's still going to connect me to more than likely the area agency on aging in the Dothan region, which is where I'm from. So just know that either way, we'll get you to the correct location. We'll just find out kind of where you are, where that geographic region is, and we'll make sure that we get you to the right place. Now, the way it starts for our agency and really all of the agencies across the state, we may be structured just a little differently, but for the most part, it's pretty much the same in that it mostly, or all calls are going to be filtered through what's called our ADRC, or Aging and Disability Resource Center. And basically, that's just a single point of entry for the long-term support services and even the temporary, like with the Alabama Cares program, some of the temporary support services that can kind of help provide that independence, that, support that's needed within the community to make sure that the quality of life, of course, is maintained or improved. And of course, this is, like I said, this is the starting point. You can do that by contacting us directly. You can also, like we mentioned on the previous slide, contact the toll-free 1-800-AGE-LINE number there. Now, you can call us during normal circumstances. You can also come to our office. We're located in Saginaw, between Alabaster and Calera on Highway 31. You can also now, I think there's a couple of slides that will come upon that you can do an online referral now, and that's through www.m4a.org/referral. And that kind of gives you different methods of getting that referral to us to get the ball rolling, because, we do get several referrals every day for different programs because we serve such a larger region. However, that's a really good way to get it started, either by phone, person, or through email, by website. And the great thing about the website is it can be done at any hour of the day. Of course, for our agency, we're Monday through Friday during normal business hours, which I believe is 8 to 5. So if you're in a situation where, especially in the case of caregivers, if you're working all day or if you're doing it on behalf of maybe like a sibling that's the primary caregiver, and you're just calling to try to find some resources for for your parents or for a sibling or whatever the case may be, sometimes your situation might warrant the online version because that's ease of access for you to do it maybe in the middle of the night. So it'll go through our queue, comes through to our ADRC, and they'll schedule with you a follow-up call, especially if you include an email there. They can follow with you through that way as well. So these are some of the key programs offered across the state. Now, there may be a little bit of variation in how they're delivered, but these are the core services, the key services that we provide across the state of Alabama. And that is our nutrition services, both through supporting the local senior centers with their nutrition programs, as well as the homebound meal program. We also have, like I said, the caregiver support program, which is Alabama Cares. We also have some other services that we provide caregiver supports through. We have a medication assistance program with our Senior RX program that can kind of help get low cost or no cost drugs for those that may find themselves with certain eligibility criteria where they're eligible and they don't have current insurance to cover some of those costs, or if they're in the gap period, or several other factors. But there is eligibility criteria for each of our programs, and our ADRC staff does a really good job of explaining that to callers when they initially call in. Again, we have the SHIP program, like Miss LaToya just reviewed over. We also have a senior employment program. We have a legal assistance program with Miss Jan Neal, as she mentioned, to start the initiative off here. We also have different initiatives like our elder abuse prevention. We have a huge initiative that we're taking on right now that we're kind of getting ready to release and put forward with our For All Foundation that really combats elder abuse and domestic violence, especially in older adults. We also have long-term care support services through our Medicaid waiver program, especially. And again, our goal is to provide support services to individuals to age within the place of the community of their choice. And if that happens to be a long-term care facility, we also have a state ombudsman representative within our office that will kind of help guide you in maybe a facility of choice, or if you have a loved one that's already in a facility, they're the middle person, I guess you could say, is the easiest way to describe it, as someone who's going to speak on behalf of the resident as well as hear concerns from the facility themselves, and they're kind of the mediator there to kind of take those calls and see things through. So those are our key services. Here's some other initiatives as well. And like I said, we have different things that range from food assistance to transportation, depending on the region, as well as medication assistance, caregiver support, long-term care services. So we have a lot of different key services. We also have several in-house initiatives that we've started throughout the year, whether that's what we call Santa for Seniors, where we do gifts for needy seniors during the holidays. That's an initiative we occasionally do that we're looking to kind of revamp and relaunch probably next year. We also do things like fidget quilts for seniors, for especially important for caregivers who may have a loved one who fidgets a lot. That might be something that we can help with. They're also very impactful for those who are caring for a loved one with different sensory issues. So that's always a great initiative that we've had. It kind of took a little bit of a hit with COVID, kind of prevented a lot of the facilities to get together to do some of that volunteer workforce, but we're looking to relaunch a lot of those things, especially going into next year. But we have several different programs, and we can tell you all about that through our ADRC when you call. I've pretty much gone over a lot of these services here, so I won't spend too much time on them. I did want to add here with our Gateway to Community Living, that's also our state ombudsman representative that's in our office that will if you've got a loved one that's already in the long-term care facility, their staff can work through the Gateway program. They can work with the family to potentially make it available, make it easier for that individual to come from the community, from a long-term care facility back to the community. And again, we keep talking about the Alabama Cares program. This is a little bit more in-depth breakdown of what our program provides. We provide, you see there, access assistance, information, temporary respite services, temporary supplemental supplies, so things like pull-ups, grab bars, things like that provide that that kind of relieve some of that financial burden for caregivers, as well as counseling and education. We offer support groups. We do weekly newsletters through email, different initiatives like the virtual Break to Educate. We partner with a lot of different organizations to provide education. And so that's kind of our core services within our Alabama Cares program. Now, this program, especially if you're listening from another state, this program is offered across the country. It just may be labeled differently. It's basically just the federally funded caregiver support program. So in our state, we refer to it as the Alabama Cares program. Some of the eligibility criteria include caregivers providing care to individuals age 60 and older, caregivers providing care to individuals of any age with a dementia-related diagnosis and related disorders, older relatives, including parents aged 55 and older, providing care to individuals aged 19 to 59 with a severe disability. And lastly, our older relatives, not parents, age 55 and older, who are informally raising children under the age of 18, and there does not have to be a diagnosis there. So oftentimes those are going to be grandparents, aunts, uncles, that sort of thing. Basically, you have custody of a child that you're taking care of, and we can come in to provide some of these additional temporary supports as well. A lot of the times what we're providing for that program are a little differently than our respite and supplemental in for what we call traditional caregivers. And those are going to be things like back to school supplies. During the holidays, we can provide some clothing, especially for needy cases, the summer camps, after school activities, coverage of costs for, like, say, band or different programs that the child may be involved with at the school. So it's kind of a vague program, but it does help quite a bit in many different areas. So definitely check that out. We also have different initiatives like our Living Well Alabama program that promotes wellness and healthy living. And like I said, we have a senior RX program that works with, specifically with drug manufacturers to get low cost, no cost drugs to kind of help those that may find themselves without coverage or even if your plan's not covering a specific cost. We're not in a situation where open enrollment is possible at that time. She might be able to help with Miss Janie might be able to help with her program, with the Senior RX program. And we've already went over the SHIP and SMP program. We did want to briefly touch on our Dementia Friendly Alabama program because this is such a large initiative across the state, especially for our office. And we always like to shed a little bit of light on our Dementia Friendly initiative. This ties specifically in with our PANDA projects and especially our Alabama Cares program. And basically what Dementia Friendly Alabama is, it's a national movement that Alabama adopted by one of our sister agencies down in the Montgomery region. For our region specifically, we work closely with law enforcement and first responders to train them on not only our services, but also being dementia friendly, interacting the situations in the community. And of course, we touch on just general aging tips, for first responders to, when they're responding with families within the community, not only for those living with a dementia related diagnosis, but also their caregivers, the care network families that are involved. So we do a pretty good job. We probably trained more than at this point, probably 1,500 to 2,000 first responders, including fire, police, telecommunications, city officials in general. And this has actually grown to the point now where we offer it actually virtually online. We have a website that's dedicated to training just for this topic alone. So, and also during that training session, we also talked to them about the Project Life Connect program that we have in-house at M4A. This is one of those initiatives that I was referring to that we don't have statewide. It's not a core service per se, but it is an initiative through M4A specifically. However, we've had several events within the community before COVID where we may have passed these out at other regions. So you may see these kind of across the area, even if it's not within the 5 counties that we cover. But basically what Project Life Connect is it's a little red folder. It has magnets on the back. And the specific purpose that we created it for was to go in the refrigerator so that first responders can see these whenever they, respond to a call. Most of the times that's a moment of chaos, and caregivers or the individual that they're responding to the call is not going to know every medication they're taking. They're not going to remember to tell them specific diagnoses, emergency contacts, preferred hospital, etc. So this is an attempt to make that a little easier. These are free to consumers. We have tons of them at our office. So if you call our agency and say that you want one of these, one of our staff members can mail you one of these. It goes on the refrigerator. There's 3 or 4 cards within the package that, like I said, lists the medications, it lists the diagnoses, the emergency contacts, preferred hospital. And the idea there is to obviously grab this and go, so that we're saving as much time as possible within that medical situation. So briefly touched on the Panda project a little bit. That's specific to our Shelby County region. So if you don't live in Shelby County, unfortunately, that will not impact you, but it's specifically a support program providing assistance to individuals living with Alzheimer's and dementia, as well as their caregivers, or if you have a high risk of those factors, as well as individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities who also have a high risk for developing a dementia-related diagnosis. And I wanted to touch again on the online format because that seems to be the preferred method for a lot of consumers within our community. Again, that's m4a.org/, so that's the slash going to the right. And I'll add, when I edit this video, I'll add in the URL link at the top, and that's /referral. And when you go there, you'll see it'll automatically take you to this page right here where you can make a referral. You can do this for yourself. You can do this on behalf of someone else. And then that way you've kind of got the ball rolling. It'll go to our queue, and one of our ADRC staff members will follow up with you to make sure that they get you served, get the ball rolling to get you some supportive services and get you served within the community. So again, we are M4A, that is the Middle Alabama Area Agency on Aging. We have several different initiatives ranging from other programs, and also with our Alabama Cares program. We do a series once a month, which we didn't talk about in this PowerPoint, but we have a series called, actually, I think it's a couple of slides down the road here. We do a series called Coffee Break. And we've already kind of went over our Alabama Cares program, so we'll kind of briefly go through this. But we do have the second Thursday of each month, starting at noon, we have a support group that's free for any caregivers to call in to, again, just build that network, that support network, like Carly was talking about. You can have laughter is obviously going to have, is going to happen at every support group, because that's a great way to cope with stress, to cope with sadness. And of course, a support group is really the best way to start that, especially in the situation of, oftentimes it's very hard to talk to family members about some of these struggles that you might have as a caregiver. So obviously, talking with other caregivers, regardless of their background and their situation, about common struggles is always going to be a great way to you kind of build that support system, as well as do things like laughing and kind of help combat that you're dealing with. And I briefly touched on Coffee Break a while ago. This is an initiative that we started at the beginning of the pandemic, back last April, I believe was our first one. This is a once a month webinar where we dedicate 1 hour. It's usually the last Wednesday of every month. We dedicate 1 hour to a guest speaker, whether that's a chef talking about food, someone talking about gardening, legal assistance with Jan Neal, to fraudsters and scams through the Alabama Securities Commission. It just depends on what we feel like doing that month, and we try to fill new topics every month. And now I will say that we are kind of getting towards the time of the year where holidays are happening. So we may not be doing one. I know we're not doing one for December. We may not be doing one for November, but we try to do these every month. And if you have any interest in these, we also have these on our YouTube channel that you can go back and watch under the Coffee Break playlist. And of course, we are on Facebook. So there's our Facebook page for M4A Alabama Cares, as well as our main M4A page. So feel free to like, share, and all that good stuff. We post our events on our Facebook page generally, so make sure you join us for that so that you can keep up to the things that are going on. We also share content from different pages like Jan Neal's Law Firm, like Carly with UCP and Alabama Lifespan Respite. So feel free to check those out. and we're sure to fill you with a lot of information there, generally several times a week. Now, I don't see any questions in the chat or the Q&A. We were having some difficulties with our social media stream, so we are recording this. We will put it on YouTube and social media. Again, can't stress it enough. If you have any questions, you can let us know. I'll try to include all the contact information for the speakers that we have today, probably during their speaking part during the playback video. But feel free to check out us, and we can definitely get you in contact with them directly. And we thank you guys for joining us today. And again, if you're checking this out at a later time, it's never too late to get involved with support services. So feel free to reach out to us at any time. And again, thanks to all the speakers. We appreciate you taking the time. It's certainly busy for most of us during the fiscal year transition. So we appreciate you guys taking the time to join us and providing valuable information.